morning, Ruth. Pardon me. I was fine, and then now I start talking, and I'm all choked up. Um, Ruth and Dora, good morning to you both. Here we are, Wednesday. I don't see any snow. Now I know they've pushed it back a little, but I don't really think I don't think we're gonna get too much. We might get a little. Um, it definitely has that feeling. I don't know if you've noticed that. There's a certain feeling when it's going to snow. And the funny thing is, I think it was maybe last week or maybe the week before, there was a very cold day. And when we went to take the dog for the walk, it felt really like snow. Like there was that, it's almost a smell. It's not really a smell, but it's a sensation kind of. Something about the humidity or and the temperature and something, it's just it feels like snow. And I found out that it was actually snowing in Middletown, but it wasn't snowing where we were. So but it definitely has that feeling. So we might get a little, you never know. But I don't think the snow apocalypse that the weather channels always want to talk about. So just as well, right? Everybody has things to do, and snow generally just complicates that. So that's fine. My sister lives in upstate New York, and she always gets, of course, a lot more snow and weather, cold weather than we do. Um, so I always think about what she's got, and if she's not getting snow, then we pretty much don't get any snow, and I don't think they've gotten any yet. So we'll see. So let's talk about. Yesterday we talked about this idea of um, not um, not letting your worries and your thoughts kind of take control of everything, and that we train. We work on this kind of getting comfortable with and strengthening that connection with the self, so that we can observe when this is happening. Right? We are so when we talk about the self and kind of residing within the self, we are the observer. So we are something separate from our body, from our mind, from our emotions. Um, we are the self, this unchanging self, and we don't always remember that, right? We don't usually. I mean, most of us don't really live our life that way. When you are an enlightened soul, right? If you are, and we've talked about this too before. This idea that there are people that have reached this level of awareness, and traditionally, people like that might move on, right, to uh, this idea of nirvana, right? This ultimate freedom. Um, but what do they do? Where do they go? Right? They don't disappear. I mean, in some yoga thought, they can actually kind of phase out of human form. But what we really talk about is that these people often become teachers, right? So um, they are residing in human form, but they are not, right? So they're beyond that. They are residing in the self. So they are constantly aware of their self and their you know their union to the one. Um, we are only very uh, we are only aware of that in a very small way, right? We may, as we meditate, we may have glimpses of that. We may have moments where we feel that we are joined with the one, and it's usually a very uh, sort of joyous feeling, a very expansive feeling. But then, we get bogged down with stuff, going to the grocery store and making lunch and things like this, the day-to-day things. Um, and they start to take precedence in our mind. We aren't, we don't reside within the self, right? That would be great if we could, but that's, it's very, it's a very difficult way to be. Um, I mean, for most of us, right? We're not there. I'm not there. I'm firmly, I'm firmly in my normal day to day activities, and as most of us are. Um, but we want to be aware of that self, the selfness, that we are separate, and even though we don't stay there, we are there, right? Does that make sense? Um, Knowing that knowledge makes it easier for us to take the other things less seriously, right? The aggravations, the uh, problems that we have, the difficulties that we may have in our day to day life, um, feelings that we have. It gives us a little perspective on that. And knowing that those things are not who we are, we can kind of rise above them, right? We can put them in their proper place and not allow them to run our life. Um, it's a practice, right? You aren't going to get that every day. Some days it's going to be very hard indeed. Um, but that's the goal. That's what we're working towards. And for most of us, right, it's not. Um, Again, that knowledge makes it easier, right? Knowing that there can be that separation, that we don't have to react, that the feelings that we have are just that. They're just feelings. Um, they don't have any more importance than that. We can feel them, we can let them go. We could choose to act on them, or we could choose not to. It is again within our power to decide what do we want to amplify in our life and what do we want to minimize, right? Um, if you're a person that has trouble with anger, with worry, those may be things you want to minimize, right? You certainly don't want to um, deny them. Those are valid feelings. They may be very rooted in your life, in what's happening in your life. So feel them, but don't act on them, right? Don't act out of anger and out of fear and worry. Instead, allow those feelings to happen, let them go, and then act. Act using your intellect, your um, I've completely lost the word. Uh, Reason, I guess, reason, right? So we're using our a reasoned approach instead of just reacting in an angry way or scared way. Um, I love this too because this is something our grandmas and our moms always said, right? Count to 10. Take a deep breath. Don't fly off the handle. I mean, these are all very yogic principles. Be very clear about what's really happening. our feelings and our emotions and our thoughts, all of these things can cloud our perception of what's really happening. So take some time and make sure that you really see what's happening, and it's not just your little version of what's happening. You will, again, you'll never regret that extra time that you took, because it's always easier, right? Here's another yogic principle. Easier to do things the right way, right, than to undo mistakes, to fix what we have done in error. Um, Words and actions that we say in anger or carelessly can be very damaging to ourselves and to others. So we want to be careful. We want to make sure that what we're doing is, following the yamas and the niyamas, and it's really what you mean. It's not just something said out of anger or fear. Those are the big ones: anger and fear. They are the ones that really push our buttons. Um, so this is our practice, and here is this is a great opportunity for us to practice all of these things. Um, you know, when I started teaching yoga, and when I started practicing yoga, I never thought I would have such a real world life experience to practice all of this with. Um, my life, by and large, before this, has been pretty easy, pretty, you know, not a lot of troubles, not a lot of worries. And now, this is where things get tough for all of us. So this is what we are working for, right? So that we can cope with these things. This may certainly not be, maybe you have had a very difficult time in life. You may find that hopefully you have some tools to deal with this maybe better than some of the other hard times in your life. I know I certainly I'm certainly dealing with this better than some of the issues that I've had in my life. Um, and that's what yoga is about, right? Yoga is giving us the tools. It's not gonna solve your problems. It's not going to magically make them go away, but it's going to make them more tolerable, more um, give us a little more perspective, and allow us to work through them, hopefully in a way that is more positive. And by extension, help everyone else around us, right? So um, when we are dealing with things in a reasonable way, we are setting a good example for the people around us. Nobody, it doesn't help anyone when we panic, right? Or we freak out, or we're angry, or um, upset all the time, right? And as yogis, we're thinking always of the whole, of everyone. It isn't just about us. Nothing is ever just about us. It's about everyone. So we want to make these choices and work on the behaviors that is going to benefit everybody. All right, so let's do some asana, and that'll be good. Do a little pranayama beforehand, though. I'm feeling very stuffed up today. I usually get through a class without any trouble of like my voice and everything getting kind of stuffed up. But um, before before we started doing this, back when I was teaching a lot of classes, there would be a time usually, not now, maybe January, February, where I would just lose my voice, right? like, like just, okay, now I can't talk anymore. And then I have to take a week off or so. And then, then my voice would be okay. And I always just assumed that that was overuse, right? And that your body's like, hey, it's enough. You're talking too much. Just stop. Stop talking. um, but I don't know. I'm getting that feeling again. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Sitting up. Breathe. Let's drop the head down. Relax and let your head just hang. And then lifting up. Keep lifting the chin. Head back to center. Take a breath. And move the head over to the right. Back up and moving left. Back to center. Leaning forward and moving around. One way and the other. Coming back up, arms wide. Take a deep breath and then hands together. Inhale, arms wide. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Interlace the fingers, lift the arms, gaze up. And then arms down by your side. Inhale, lift. And lower. Lift. And lower. Once more, lifting up. And then right arm down by your side, reach across with the left. Switching sides. Back up. Lift the shoulders, roll back. And forward. Right hand on left knee. Sit up tall, take a deep breath, and then twist. Back to center, switch sides. and back to center. Let's walk the hands out in front. Back again. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Gazing up. And back to your seat. Let's bring the soles of the feet together. Sitting up tall, take your deep breath, and then lean forward. Back up, both legs out in front. Let's point and flex the feet. And then rotating through the ankles. One way and then the other. And then we're going to lift the arms, take a deep breath, fold forward, reaching down, maybe not that far, right? You might feel kind of tight still this morning. Back up. Let's bring the legs wide. Sitting up tall, shoulders back, and then leaning forward. You can walk hands out in front, or you could bring them onto the legs, whatever is your preference. And you just want to go to the point where you start to feel some tightness in that inner thigh area around the knee. Moving back up, let's bring the feet a little closer. So, we're maybe the width of the mat now. Right foot comes in close to the thigh. We're sitting up tall and then turning the body. So facing this left leg. Arms overhead, deep breath, fold forward. Coming back up and other side. Legs out a little far. It's fine. Turning, take a deep breath. Hold. Back up, both legs out in front. Another fold. Moving back up. Let's bring soles of the feet together. Sitting up tall. Take a deep breath. Fold forward. So maybe a little further this time. Things have stretched a little bit. And then let's bring that left leg is underneath. Kind of working those knees together as much as possible. Take a hold of the feet. Deep breath and then lean forward. Back up. Switching the legs around. Take a deep breath and fold. And then back up. Let's bring the soles of the feet together and we're going to take a hold of the toes or the feet. Lean back a little, find your balance, and then maybe come halfway or full extension. Bring the feet back down. And then we're going to do boat pose. So we've got the hands behind the knees. We can come up You can keep the hands here. You could bring them out to the side. You could keep the legs bent, or you could extend. And back up. Tabletop. Sitting back on the heels. Child's pose. And then tabletop again to downward dog. Coming forward to high plank. And then lower down. Head turns right. Relax here. Take a few breaths. Head back to center. Let's set up for Cobra. So we'll have our hands about chest height, elbows close to the body, squeezing the shoulders back. And then we're lifting up, head and chest. Hover the hands. Keep breathing. Lower down, head turns to the left. Back to center. We're going to keep the hands by your side. Just flip the palms so they're resting on the mat. And then we're lifting up the head and chest, arms and legs. And back down. Let's bring the hands out in front. We can rest the forehead or the chin. And let's do a little crocodile breathing here. So we're going to bring the feet a little wider on the mat. You can do toes out, heels in, unless that really is uncomfortable for you. It doesn't feel great for me. My feet tend to go in rather than out, but it's not bad, and it's a good stretch. So I usually try to do it. But again, if it really isn't, it's really uncomfortable for you, then maybe just do toes in, heels out. See what you want to do. We're going to bring one forearm over top of the other. Try to bring the elbows away from the shoulders. And then the forehead should just kind of lightly rest on the arms to the top of the forehead. And here we're just going to breathe, relax. See if you can just let your body sink into the mat. And then we're going to bring the arms out in front, rolling onto one side, whichever side you want. We're going to bend that top knee. You can grab a hold of the leg, extend. If you can grab the ankle or the toe, that's great. We're just trying to do, as much stretch as you can here. So wherever you are is fine. Balancing and stretching. If you feel very unbalanced, bend that bottom knee to give yourself a little more of a base to hold you up. And then bend the knee, set it back down. We're going to roll onto the other side. Same thing. Bending that top knee. And then, whatever you can get a hold of here for your stretch. And then release it down. We're going to scoot over onto the mat. If you were off the mat like I was, just getting back on. Comfortable breath, relax. We're going to bring the right ankle on top of the left knee. You might be staying here, pressing the knee away, or maybe bringing that left thigh in close. Breathe. Set the foot down, we'll switch. And then whatever we did on the one side, we'll do the same on the other. And then both feet back down to the mat. Setting up for bridge. We're going to do supported bridge or regular bridge, whatever you choose. Today I choose supported bridge. Rising up. Bring that block under. So I find supported bridge is always a pretty good pose to do. You can always do a regular bridge and then a supported bridge. But I really like finishing up with supported bridge. I think it just helps everything kind of just settle down and kind of find its place again. For me anyway, I mean, you may not, it may not feel as important for you, and that's okay. Regular bridge is fine, or just resting on the mat. And then rising up, move the block if you have one. We're going to bring soles of the feet together, knees apart. Maybe bring the arms up over the head if you like that. And then bringing knees to center, we're going to hug them in, rock a little side to side. Goalpost arms or arms out to a T, lowering both knees over to the right. And then back to center, moving left. Back to center, extend the legs. And then lowering down. You do one at a time or both together. Ending out, resting on your mat for Shavasana. Keep that breath moving through the body, focusing on the breath, sensations in the body with the breath. Trying to keep our attention here, right? And this is hard. Being able to control where our thoughts are going is a really important part of, um, well, I mean, I would just say general mental health. But, especially in terms of, our yogic path, directing our thoughts, choosing which thoughts will hold with us is how we build our world. Right? I mean, there are a lot of things that happen in our world that are out of our control. But how we react to them is always completely our control. And that's where this idea of controlling our thoughts, choosing our thoughts comes in. An event can happen, and two different people can see it completely different. The exact same thing happens, but it has a different meaning for everyone that looks at it. Choose what your meaning is going to be. It doesn't change the event, but it changes how the event is for you. Right? So, we could look at the pandemic and the virus as a terrible thing, which it objectively is. Right? Many people have gotten sick and died. It is an event that has very many negative impacts. But it doesn't negate those to try to find the positive, to see what we can focus on that is good, what good might have come from it. I certainly have a greater appreciation for all the dumb things that I used to do every day without thinking about it. Going places, doing things, eating out in a restaurant. These simple pleasures, which maybe seemed very routine, very ho-hum. I don't think I'm going to ever feel that way about them. Being able to see your friends and family whenever you want. Being able to touch them and be in physical proximity to them. It's a gift that we probably never appreciated as much as we could have. There's a great deal more time for the things that we want to do. There are fewer demands on your time. Social obligations are pretty much non-existent, right? So if you were a person who was very busy with that sort of thing, you've been given a great deal of time for yourself. That could be a positive thing. Um, what we choose to look at and what we choose to hold ultimately builds our world. If all we see and all we think about are the negative, the terrible things, and I mean, certainly there are a lot of bad things in the world, and there always have been, and there always will be, right? That's the nature of our existence. There is the light and the dark. But if all we see is the dark, then our world is dark. And it truly is, right? We have built our world um, in a very dark and scary place. And I know you must know people like that, right? For them, the world is nothing but fear and anger and terror. Um, they can't see anything good. They don't believe there is anything good. Um, it's a terrible way to live. Um, but it's a choice, right? They may not believe it's a choice, but it is, right? Just as we can choose to understand, that there are negative things, but they are not going to be what define our life. Our life is to seek the positive, to highlight the positive, to dwell on the positive, because it's just as valid as the negative. Um, Two sides of the same coin, two parts of the same life. Which one are you going to choose? So, moving a little now, coming back to awareness, and then making your way up to a seat. Let's bring hands together for a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Thank you for taking some time today for your yoga and for sharing it with me. I hope you have a very good Wednesday. Namaste. Thank you. 5 minutes meditation. Before we get out of the meditative state of mind, we're going to keep it going. Just holding that awareness, kind of lightly. Close the eyes, comfortable seat. Opening your eyes. Take a few breaths. Okay. Some yoga and some meditation for your Wednesday. I will be back tomorrow. Watch out for the snow. Maybe we'll get some. Who knows? Have a great day.